So it's on to our first speaker. He's here to give an introduction to the port of Rotterdam. It's his domain. We're his guests, so to speak. He's the president and CEO of Port of Rotterdam. In other words, I would call him the nautical king of Rotterdam. Please give him a warm hand. Allard Castelein.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome indeed to Rotterdam, to the city of Rotterdam and to the port of Rotterdam. It's a pleasure to, indeed after a long virtual time frame, to be able to see each other again, to meet, to interact, to exchange views, thoughts, ideas, and co-create solutions. And I don't think there's a substitute for the physical interaction between two people or more in a room on various occasions, be it a coffee break, be it a dinner, be it a walk or a guided tour. So it's a pleasure to welcome you all to the city of Rotterdam, to the port of Rotterdam. By means of introduction, just a couple of words to reconfirm, I suppose, because I do assume that you kind of are all experts and at least are somewhat familiar with the port, but nevertheless, a couple of data points perhaps to reflect upon. First of all, where we are at, to the most western tip, about a 40-kilometer journey from the city center, 42 kilometers, 12,000 hectares of port area, several refineries, more than 40 petrochemical facilities, biofuel plants, and all together an area as a port industrial complex, if you'd like, accountable, responsible for creating some 565,000 jobs in the country, some $62 billion of economic rent, and hence relevant to this part of the world, relevant to the Netherlands, relevant to Northwestern Europe, because this port did not only become this relevant by serving the Netherlands, but actually we have a hinterland, so to speak, of some 350 million Europeans, reaching well into northern Switzerland, Italy, Poland, Czech, Slovakia, and of course Germany and Belgium and France. Now, we clearly recognize the role that we have to play in addressing climate change challenges, because this port, being an industrial facility, is also responsible for some 13% of the Dutch emission profile. And that's excluding the seagoing trade. And so we have started out on a journey right around the Paris Climate Agreement already on assessing how to decarbonize that footprint, how to embrace the energy transition challenges as opportunities, and to assess which roles we as a port should be playing in order to facilitate those changes, in order to welcome those changes, in order to create an investment climate for the parties and the international companies that reside and have a presence in the port, for them to feel welcome to continue on their quest and journeys. Because I suppose there's, if you really drill down to a simplified version, there are two ways to cut your emission profile. One is, as an industrial facility, to switch off the lights and go home, and destroy your economic value and employment opportunities and knowledge and expertise and role in life, or to go through that transition. And we have identified 4 pathways for the entire industrial complex to achieve that carbon reduction profile of 55% reduction in 2030, going to climate neutral in 2050. And the pathways are related to energy efficiency, no-brainer you could argue, new energy sources, circular economy, and decarbonization of the various modalities. And I'll say a couple of words on each and every one of them. Because efficiency of infrastructure clearly is related to CCS, but it's also using residual heat or having a shared steam infrastructure to use heat. So we have various initiatives as a port company authority with partners to execute infrastructure processes and projects that will deliver an increased efficiency. The energy system, clearly, name of the game is hydrogen. There's a lot of CCS conferences around in the world. There's more hydrogen conferences, I would argue, on this planet, and each and every one is talking about them. We are as well, And we sincerely believe the Repower Europe program, for instance, is requiring some 20 million tons of hydrogen by 2030. As a port, we believe 4.6 million tons of that 20 million ton will come through and via Rotterdam. We will have electrolyzers in the port up to 1.3 gigawatts by 2030, but we will need well over 4 million tons of import as well from various sources, and that will be not only within Europe, but also outside of Europe. Then the raw material and fuel systems, as I said, circular economy, think about waste to jet fuel type of programs, using biomass as a sustainable source for sustainable aviation fuels, and those kind of initiatives. And then we have the transportation sector, which we seek to decarbonize using either hydrogen or electrification or sustainable fuels. And we are, for instance, as a port, a member of an organization called Getting to Zero, which is a breakout, if you'd like, of the International Maritime Organization, which I've criticized very much by not embracing the Paris Climate Agreement and, if you'd like, setting themselves aside from it. But the Getting to Zero coalition, of which we are a member, as the only port in the world, I could argue, is keen to ensure that by 2030, the sea trade will also have the opportunity to be fully decarbonized. So there's a technology, research, development, deployment initiative related to that modality as well. Now then, switching to the project that we are pursuing, that's the Portals project. As this being a CCS conference, I assume you're all very much aware, and later on the agenda there's a presentation on the project more specifically. But clearly what we aim to do is build a pipeline infrastructure offering, if you like, the opportunity to the emitters to capture their CO2, deliver it at the fence, as we tend to describe it, and then from the fence we will take that CO2 and store it in a depleted gas field offshore. But the government also is party to this equation by the subsidies they provide, as well as the assurances with regards to on whose balance sheet should this sit following injection. So this is a public-private partnership journey. The 4 launching customers are Air Liquide, Air Product, Exxon and Shell. The investing companies are EBN, Energiebeheer Nederland, GasUnie and the Port of Rotterdam. And as I said, the government is our partner. Now, it doesn't only require then, in order to achieve these objectives of 55% reduction, to build a portals infrastructure pipeline through the port area. We will need additional infrastructure connecting the various ports in the area, not only for CCS purposes, but also for hydrogen purposes, and actually to connect ourselves to that 350 million Europeans. And this is a dotted pipeline, if you like, a picture of a dotted pipeline structure to Cologne, Duisburg. I'm off to Germany tomorrow. A private consortium will confirm their interest in supplies of hydrogen with effect of 2025, for which new infrastructure is required. And on the way back, provided they wish to, on the way back we can take the CO2 back with us to expand the depleted gas field facilities we have. So you're looking at a whole system solution, from electrification to hydrogen production to hydrogen imports to infrastructure to transport hydrogen to infrastructure to transport CO2, back and forth in order to achieve those objectives as we set out and I shared with you earlier. For that, I hope to have confirmed to yourselves our huge energy to be a source and a force that is relevant to that transition that we all aspire to, but also to confirm to you that these are not ideas, these are not wishes. This is all backed up, if you'd like, by specific plans, investment, partnerships, and or permits already applied and or groundbreaking that has already taken place. So I'm extremely bullish, as one can be, I suppose, regarding the mere fact that we can achieve these objectives. But I also do recognize, as you will do with me, no doubt, it's a long journey and it requires a lot of energy. But we're ready to deliver that to yourselves. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, Mr. Castelein, you're very optimistic, bullish, as you said. Isn't there anything it keeps you up at night? One risk, because it sounds great. You have the plans, you have the consortia, companies willing to invest. What's the most important risk? What keeps you up at night?
Work. And in addition to work, as I said, all these projects have their own risks, challenges. None of them are easy. In this country, the nitrogen issue is an issue that is hampering progress.
Maybe you can explain. There's a court case. We're waiting for the verdict on the Porthos project.
Yeah, but
a couple of weeks.
Correct. But more general, infrastructure and/or construction in general is hampered at this juncture in the country related to the available, if you like, room to emit nitrogen, which is, and we need to restore climate, we need to restore biodiversity, so there's no mistake about. But one should say you have a bit of exchange money. You need exchange money to move things forward, right? So if you have everything cast in stone and say you have to improve biodiversity before you can do anything else, then we will not meet the target. So if I'm worried about anything, it's the speed of progress. Similarly, geopolitical challenges, Ukraine, Russia, energy independence. If we need to make the right choices to make this progress that's required, if we fall back and get paralyzed by analyses or by not daring to move or not having the permits available or not wanting to have an upfront investment in the infrastructure, we will miss the targets that we have set out for ourselves. So time is of essence.
Okay, thank you very much. Allard Castelein.